This is the place where in February 1945 I was given the task to hold the eastern bank of the Irrawaddy to stop General Slim's British 14th Army crossing the river. During my recce, I could see that all those beaches right up to Nyangu were covered with human beings. The soldiers of the 14th Army, they could afford to do that because they were supreme in the air. I did not have even a single plane, no artillery, and I had to face them with only 1,200 men of the Nehru Brigade, only 1,200. They must be about 30,000 strong, leaving aside the artillery, the air power, and all that. God knows how I could stand there. Now when the din and the noise of the battle is 50 years behind me, I cannot imagine what was the power which made me stick against such an overwhelming army in weapons, in numbers, and I would say that under the command of as big and great a general as General Slim. For he called it the biggest, the longest river crossing in World War II. And here, just a boy as compared to him was trying to stop him. All these beaches. Here my men opposed. I bow to their souls who became martyrs here for the freedom of my beloved India. This place to me is very sacred. It is going through the memory lane. I wish those men were with me presently. This is the place where the first shot was fired by the British as well as by ourselves. Nyangu Ferry, the shortest breadth of the river Irrawaddy, which General Slim wanted to use to cross the 14th Army. That shot was fired somewhere under that hill, at the bottom of the hill, where a platoon of our Nehru Brigade was placed. At midnight of 7th and 8th February 1945, the British patrol came. They were challenged by our sentry, and the leader of the British patrol shot the sentry dead. Our second sentry shot the British captain dead, and we were quits. So this reminds me of that battle's start in a way which was to finish on the 15th when they advanced in number. If I have to describe the whole of the battle, it will take a very long time. In short, I will tell you that on the 11th of February, I learned that most of the dogs on the other side and in between There are so many villages on the islands. Those dogs were killed. So we thought that night attack is coming when dogs won't bark, and we would be surprised. So we were very much alert. The night passed. The next day started aerial bombing. It was a carpet bombing. That is, they started in front, thinking that our men were there in the trenches. But to hide ourselves from the sight of those hills, our men had been placed in the rear so as to go in front, take up the position when the enemy advances. But the whole day bombing kept on, taking by carpets this area, again that area. Now at about midday, the carpet bombing of the front rows stopped. We thought that they have gone, and now the land forces will come to attack us. So our men, from who had hidden themselves in pagodas, they came forward and took their position along the river bank. But instead of the land forces coming, again the carpet bombing started, and this time they took the rear area. I was at Tathe, so I was worried. I thought there will be enormous number of casualties, and I brought my medical staff, stretcher bearers to collect, and doctors to collect casualties. And I was surprised when I reached Chandraban. I said, how many people are injured? He said, not a single one. And he told me the story, and we were simply lucky. On the next day we thought, now the real attack would come. But it did not come. On the night of 13th, 14th, at midnight, in front of 8th Battalion, that is at Bagan, that place I showed you, the Indian Brigade was put into action. And when they came in their country boats, it so happened that one of my company commanders, who did not know that at night time he should not shoot, at night time he should not say any slogans, but he came and he had 3 mortars with him. And as soon as the attack started, he went all out. He fired. He did not have machine guns. His biggest weapon was those 3-inch mortars. And along with it, he shouted, "Chalo Delhi, Chalo Delhi." And the voice was heard, one person saying, "Oye Atma Sya, ye Chalo Delhi wale hain, wapas aa jao, apne aadmi hai." And some British might have heard it, because he said, "Oh, they are Chalo Delhi walas, they are our own men, let us withdraw." And in the schmozzle, there was panic amongst the boatmen. They were mostly Myanmar people, and those were country boats. So they suffered. About 20 of their boats sunk, so many people killed, which we could not count. And as I reached the spot, Chandraban showed me that this has been the result. So I thought that we have won the day. But after some time, South Lancashire, from here, they started, and they had rubber boats and outboard motors. So when they came, our machine guns had only two belts each, and it was only within few minutes our belts were finished, and our machine guns became silent. But before they became silent, they had killed quite a number of South Lancashire people. Even their commander had to swim across in his pajamas and in his, you see, underwear. And they also went back. I thought that after the Indian brigade using the British is a political action, so that the Indians are not, you see, mentally, they don't go pro INA. So I was very happy. Meanwhile, the British artillery and air bombardment of this area started. Our men were charging the machine gun belts, and they thought that they have silenced our guns. So when after a few minutes, maybe about 20 minutes after that, after the bombing and all that, again the South Lancashire and another Indian covering troops, they advanced. And this time our men had better experience. They did not start shooting from distance. When they had come only about 200 yards there, our machine guns opened, and poor fellows, they lost about 400 killed in that battle. But then afterwards they had to withdraw. So as Slim has also put it, both at Bagan and at Nyangu, their attack became standstill. But meanwhile, all our ammunition we had exhausted. And at that time, they were regrouping. Again, when they attacked, we could not withhold them. And I am sorry to say that here, that gallant battalion commander, Lieutenant Hari Ram, he had to surrender. But he surrendered only with a party. And even that poor fellow was killed by some of the INA men who did not wish to surrender. About 112 people of ours surrendered. Our casualties in all this battle was between 300 to 400 total. And at the time after that, I was, you see, sort of locked up in a cave. That is another story which I will show you when I go to the cave.